Welcome to the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel powered by InsideTexas.com. I'm Joe Cook. Got Ian Boyd with us. We're just doing a quick live, but we wanted to go over some of the main talking points from Steve Sarkisian's press conference today here on Thursday. It was earlier this morning. It was Sarkisian's first opportunity to talk about the loss of C.J. Baxter. And with that, he had some opportunities to also talk about Trey Wisner, Jarrett Gibson, Christian Clark, and what's next at running back. He hit on a few other topics. We'll get into that. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, help us get to 10,000 subscribers. We appreciate everybody who tunes in with us on a regular basis. And hey, tell a friend, get us some more. We'd love to be able to grow the channel, and we can do that with your help. Also, head to InsideTexas.com. A lot of the stuff that we're going to talk about and a lot of inside information about this is over on InsideTexas.com, so you're going to want to check that out. We've had written reaction about what's next for all the running back room, with Paul Wadlington chiming in. Ian, you chimed in with stuff from March, from spring, with stuff today about the offense. Everybody's talked about this, so we've had this story covered in full. And yeah, Ian, this is the story of the Longhorn football preseason camp right now. What or who is next at running back? And I think we talked about this in the live last night. We had Eric, we had Justin talking about this. If there was a 1A and 1B, now it's just a 1 with Jaden Blue. But now you have to figure out who the second, third, fourth guys are, who the second guy is being of primary importance. And the candidates for that are Trey Wisner, Jarrett Gibson, and Christian Clark.
I noticed in Sark's presser today, Joe sent me the audio. I wasn't able to make it, but I listened to it. And he noted that Wisner and Blue have really similar overlapping skill sets. So it seemed like Sark saw some value in like, hey, if those are our top two guys, then no matter which one is in the game, it's kind of the same deal, right? Like Blue is older, a little bigger, I think, and more experienced. But they're both a little small, not too small, very fast, have learned how to run between the tackles, exceptional, catching the ball on the perimeter or out of the backfield. So you wonder if they just lean more into that identity, the identity that they would have when one of those guys is in the game.
It feels like you can put Jarrett Gibson in a little bit different category, but it feels like there's a lot of overlapping skill set. And that's not to be said as a bad thing, not terribly surprising either. But between Blue, who, granted, the area where it doesn't overlap when you look at Jaden Blue is elite level speed, approaching 23 miles an hour. But you're looking at guys who are 6 foot, guys who are 200 pounds, a lot of overlapping skill set there. Still, like we've talked about on the site, and like you even talked about a little bit, they got to get some tough yardage at some point. Like you have to be able to get 4th and 1 or 4th and goal from the 1. And you have good faith that Jaden Blue will be able to do that as well. And you laid that out in a very detailed article. Not just the one in March, but one today that you posted about life in the red zone for the running game as well.
Yeah, neither of them are traditional, like get low and churn their legs and push until they're across the goal line kind of guys, right? They're not like Henry Melton or Sam Ellinger or some of the guys like that Texas has had in the past. But, there's a lot of ways to score around the goal line. Sometimes a running back that has the elite lateral agility like these guys, sometimes that's actually really good on the goal line because then the defense can't just dive at the ground and like create a pile up and stop the run that way. They have to like wait and see where the running back actually goes if you can get around the edge. Sometimes those guys are really good at, just jumping it over the top. It can be dangerous, but so I think, they have these big backs that they recruited for this purpose in Jarrett Gibson and Christian Clark. We don't know how far along they are in terms of reliable goal line, short yardage running. Maybe more importantly, we don't know where they are with pass protection. C.J. Baxter picked that up really fast as a freshman last year I don't know if these guys are mirroring that success, but if they're ready, then great. Then Texas will have a big, thick-bodied, powerful dude that they can rotate in between one of those two guys. But if those guys aren't quite ready, I think they're probably still okay.
I'm trying to get something pulled up that illustrates exactly what you're talking about when it comes to Trey Wisner. It's a GIF, whatever you want to call it, from that Texas Tech game last year. And let's see, it's going to be a little, it is what it is. But it does illustrate what he is able to do. And I've almost got it set up.
They ran him on a couple plays where he showed off some inside running ability down the stretch. It was late in the game, but yeah, here's split inside zone and really good cutback, and then finishes through some traffic there at the end.
Patrick Bayouth, Jonte Cook with a couple good blocks. So that speaks to what you're talking about with making sure that you can do a lot of different things. We also posted a little bit more on Jarrett Gibson, Christian Clark. I did repost some of your high school evaluations, and things are a little bit different when you go from high school to college. And then there was even a couple different comments like, what are you talking about with on this one? And it's like, well, it's from his junior year of high school. But Christian Clark has a lot of balance. I think that's a great way of putting it. Jarrett Gibson I think he's still listed at like 205 pounds. He's probably 5'10", and a lot of those 205 pounds are in that lower half. So that's someone who, if you're maybe looking for a pad level guy or a low center gravity guy, that may be the guy you're looking for in certain situations when you're thinking about the Texas running game.
Yeah, either of those guys. I mean, they're going to be, one of those two guys will be the guy in the future that can run the ball 250 times in a season in pound teams. We'll just see if one of them has to be that immediately and whether they're even ready for that.
Keep on going. Another thing Sark talked about today was they're scrimmaging on Saturday. They are going to be in DKR. They are going to go full pads. They're going to go, I think in the past, they've gone about 100 total plays. That's split among 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s. That gets everybody involved. And something Sark said a little bit today that I don't always hear from him is basically, we're doing this without the coaches on the field. And, if you're a safety in a 7-on-7 drill, Blake Gideon's right behind you. If you're a lineman in a, inside run drill, Kyle Flood is right there. Shows how long I've been doing this. But when you're in a scrimmage situation, 11-on-11, the game is realistic-ish. They got a scoreboard going. They got chains. They got officials and stuff like that. Those coaches aren't there to make real corrections. And one of the things that he talked about, in addition to measuring their depth, seeing what those third and fourth stringers were like, was how you react without a coach. Bam, right there in your ear, telling you about your most recent rep. That opportunity is not there this weekend. You got to basically go from 1st and 10 to 2nd and 6 right away. You got to get that play call in and you got to go. What are some other things that you're looking for when the Longhorns scrimmage, or looking to hear when the Longhorns scrimmage on Saturday, since it will be a closed scrimmage?
Obviously, we're at this point, we're always waiting to hear that key players were not carted off yelling in pain. That's never a good thing when you hear that, although sometimes it's not as bad as it sounds. They already lost one key starter for the year. It feels like it's pretty common for Texas to lose one or two every fall, right, for the last couple of years. So not losing any more of those. Other than that, I think you want to hear about confidence and the identity of the team. You want to hear that Quinn Ewers is doing well. I think you would rather hear that Quinn Ewers is dicing up the secondary than the other way around, because this offense could be really good, and the secondary might be good even if Quinn Ewers can get after him a little bit. But if Quinn Ewers can never get anything going on this defense, that may not be a great sign.
Yeah, I'm also curious maybe to hear. It'll be tough to hear back like, oh, we were in match 3, or it was split field with 2 and but like if it's sticky and if it's just even just across the board, like there were guys on guys' hips making things difficult like that. I'm honestly, if I'm speaking, realistically, I'm not concerned about like Quinn Ewers. Like I kind of have a good sense that he's going to be able to do what he needs to, but put footballs near where they need to go. I'm a little bit more concerned about the, not necessarily one-on-ones, because that doesn't always happen in pass defense, but like the matchups. Like, does Isaiah Bond get one over on Malik Muhammad, or does Malik Muhammad win that battle against Isaiah Bond more often than not? That's kind of what I'm curious to hear about. And then, of course, going back to our original topic, running backs as well, just to think of it that way. And then a little bit, I talked about this, had a phone call with our buddy JD Piquel, and I'm curious about the combinations they throw out at defensive tackle. Like Alfred Collins and Vernon Broughton, those seem like your surefire first 2. I don't think it's quite certain who's going to be that second defensive tackle. I think Bill Norton fits in there. I think Jermaine Lole has earned that opportunity. But do those 2 go together? That's kind of what I'm thinking of, because Bill Norton, I mean, if you're building a plain old 3-4 defense, you plug that guy in the middle. If you're building a different style of defense, you have Jermaine Lole looping and stunting all over the field. But how do those 2 work together? How do guys like maybe Aaron Bryant and Tia Savea work together? How do Tia Savea and Bill Norton? How do different guys work together? I'm curious about that as far as the scrimmage goes. Got one more topic to get to, but we do have to make sure we give some love to our sponsor, and that is Laura Baker, member of the elite Andy Allen team, part of Keller Williams Realty. She can help you find a house anywhere in between, I don't know, north of San Antonio, New Braunfels, south of Waco and Temple, maybe even all the way to Waco. She has Central Texas, and she can help you find a home. Just ask Ian Boyd, the one he's in right now. It was discovered and the whole process gone through by Laura Baker. Give her a call, 512-784-0505. I like talking about high-level stuff in the sport with you, stuff that's not specific to Texas. Still has some application to Texas, but if you think about the state of Texas, not a gambling legal state as far as sports goes. If you want to put some wagers down, you have to drive across some state lines, or get involved with some maybe some international books, or call a buddy in one of those states and maybe levy a Venmo or something like that, allegedly. But Steve Sarkisian talked a little bit about availability reports. And as we all know, the reports of Cedric Baxter being out for the year or injured leaked. It's not like it came from the media. The original reports, whether from Rivals, from ESPN, that he was out for the season, came from Rivals or ESPN. It wasn't until a little bit later that the program put those feelers out. And of course, over at Inside Texas, if you were checking our message board, you could kind of read between the lines, hey, they're really focused on the young running backs. Well, why is that? Okay, well, something happened to CJ Baxter, and it could shelve him for a little bit of time, a lot of time, as we found out. That all said, the topic of availability reports, something that is happened in college football and even college basketball in the Big Ten, where they do the questionable, probable, doubtful, out type thing, that came up in Steve Sarkisian's press conference today, and he's all for it. And that's a little bit peculiar, because I'm not here saying that Steve Sarkisian has not been forthright, because he is typically pretty darn honest with the media. But there are times when he says he uses the definitions of words to his advantage. He's probable, or think back to Quinn Ewers' injury in 2022. He's going to suit up, but we don't know exactly what that means. Now, as it was reported, I think on CBS Sports, the SEC is starting to move a little bit towards actual availability reports. I like that. I like the idea of knowing that. I like the idea of knowing that as far as opponents go. But I'm curious to your thoughts. And heck, this is someone who I know I read lines and I write stories about betting lines and over-unders. I can't think of the last time I put money on a college football game, just because, don't have time to do it. And I know you're not you read it same way. You're not out here running a tout sheet, Ian, but you pay attention to it just as far as what Vegas thinks and things like that, considering what algorithms they may have. But I'm curious what you think of this idea of availability reports, especially as someone like Steve Sarkisian said, you know what, if we lie about it, just fine us, because that's the most surefire way to keep us honest.
I like it. The subterfuge doesn't really make the game better to me. Not knowing, I feel like knowing a little bit is a little better. I don't know. I think reasonable minds could disagree on that, but it evens the playing field out a little bit between coaches that will lie and have the media cover for them versus coaches that cannot lie because their media will find out and report anyway. The Texas is probably at a disadvantage relative to other schools in that regard. I think maybe this is most interesting for what it says about Sark. Whenever there's like a question of, hey, do you want to do things like the NFL? Sark is invariably like, yes. Right? Now, he had one comment today where he was like, hey, if you're going to do it like the NFL, just do it exactly how they do it because they've already researched and spent money on it. Otherwise, keep it the same. But I think that the little things that go with being a college coach that have to do with those kinds, I think he's less excited about that. He doesn't want to spend forever on working on sign stealing. He would just give me helmet communications. Doesn't want to spend forever on crafting cleverly worded injury reports or trying to screen information there. He just wants to coach football. To me, that's more of a pro style mindset where it's less about like being a CEO and less about being this like overall program manager and general manager and more about just being a football coach trying to find an edge with directly football related things.
One of the things that he brought up today was about that injury report aspect. And I'm trying to think, comparing what I know, I've never covered the NFL. I pay attention, watching the Texans, just watching fantasy and stuff like that. They have injury reports. And it's based on practice availability. And so the doubtful, questionable, I don't know if they do probable officially anymore, but the doubtful, questionable out is based on how many reps you take in practice. And that still hasn't prevented Ian Rappaport, Adam Schefter, Chris, God rest his soul, Chris Mortensen, guys like that from getting the scoop at Sunday at 3 a.m. and being like, he's playing and stuff like that. And it's not going to prevent outlets like Inside Texas from being able to do that. But it will be a big change across the league, across college football, across the sport, to where let's find out, let's say that, I don't know, Cole Hudson, who right now is running with the twos on the offensive line. Cole Hudson took less than 50% of the practice reps, which I think is the line of demarcation as far as questionable goes, if I remember correctly, or one of those two designations. That's news. That's news. That's stuff we can go with. That's stuff that Steve Sarkisian selfishly as a football coach doesn't have to worry about information leaking. It's probably a convenience factor for him on that front. And it also informs the fans. It also tells fans, like, this is what to look for. It removes some of the, I guess, not the cliffhanger aspect, but it keeps the fan informed, which is something that's our mission. We want to inform the fans. And I am for stuff like that helps in that regard. I'm there's still going to be Schefter types. There's still going to be Rappaport types, especially when it comes to Inside Texas. Like that, we will be on the forefront of that if these things come to change, and it looks like it is heading that direction. But at the same time, like, I'm for stuff that keeps people honest. I'm for stuff that lets you know, okay, you need to prepare for this player. You need to prepare for this player. You need to do this type of thing. And then a little bit different from the gambling perspective, not to mention Hunter Deckers or anything like that, or Iowa football. And the Texas Longhorns football is a little bit insulated from this because the state of Texas, like I mentioned, does not have legalized sports gambling. You can't download the DraftKings app like you can in Louisiana and go and place a wager, but it does protect the players. Like it reduces a chance for them to get in trouble. And I know I've made this reference before, but like, one of the reasons that these regulations are so stringent and the NCAA regulations are so stringent is because think about the tank, the Texas Athletics Nutrition Center. Let's say you are the walk-on running back for Texas, just random walk-on running back, not even any of the guys there now, but like, let's say you went to Highland Park. If you went to Highland Park and you are a walk-on running back and you're sitting down and eating, and you see so-and-so star starting women's basketball player with a walking boot and a crutch, and a friend of yours who goes to Alabama, and I think you can use the apps over in Alabama, and you call your friend at Alabama like, hey, so-and-so is not playing tonight, hit this. The books don't want that. The federal government doesn't like that. State governments don't like that. And it's just an opportunity for trouble to just build and build and build. So I'm for the regulations that go in a way to prevent 18 to 23-year-old kids from stepping into buckets that they may not know exist. And also for keeping guys who get paid $10 million, $8 million, keeping them in line a little bit and informing the fan as well. Is there anything you feel like I was off on before we get out of here?
No, I mean, I don't really want to protect the books so much. They got all sorts of ways to protect themselves, but
they win all the time.
Yeah. Kids getting themselves into trouble and just you don't want to encourage shady behavior with students and players. So that's a big win to just get that out of there.
I'm with you. Who knows? Maybe we'll see some federal involvement, but hopefully we see SEC, Southeastern Conference, not Securities and Exchange Commission involvement on making sure those availability reports come to life. Thank you to our sponsor, Laura Baker. Again, if you're looking for a home in the Central Texas area, give her a call, 512-784-0505. The room that you're looking at on the right was made possible by a lot of hard work from Ian and his family, but also by Laura Baker helping him out. Head to InsideTexas.com. Make sure that you get the best practice reports and recruiting updates over on Inside Texas. Again, the scrimmage this Saturday, a lighter practice tomorrow on Friday. But this Saturday, there will be a scrimmage, and we'll have reports stemming from that. We'll also have some info on here on the Inside Texas YouTube channel. We will make sure we get some stuff on here, but the most complete place to find everything is on InsideTexas.com. Ian, I appreciate it a ton. Thank you for hopping on. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel, powered by InsideTexas.com.